Welcome back. There is a live look outside from the Oregon coast. Gosh, it looks so beautiful out there today from our Inn at Spanish Head Resort Hotel camera in Lincoln City. Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. Getting shots is just a fact of life for our kids, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't seem scary. Here to help you help your kids when it comes time for vaccines, we welcome back the author of Doing It All, pediatrician Dr. Whitney Casares. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too.
It's that time of year we're all checking our immunization records and making sure our kids are up to date before school starts.
Yeah.
So let's walk through some of the required vaccines to go back to school.
Yeah. So here's how it works for required vaccines every year. There's a group called the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, and that gives recommendations to the CDC on what vaccines are recommended every single year, depending on the age of your child.
Okay.
And then groups like the American Academy of Pediatrics and American College of OBGYNs, they all then approve that and then start recommending it to their patients.
Okay.
So the very best way to know if your child is caught up, if they need extra vaccines, is to talk with your child's pediatrician, because they'll be able to look and see what they specifically have had and what they specifically need to be able to enter their schools.
And then what about vaccines that aren't necessarily required by the district, but that you recommend to have as extra protection?
Yeah, absolutely. So flu vaccine every single year. Remember that the flu kills so many people every year, and that it changes every year. So we really do want it to be that you get a new one every single year. And there's a thing called herd immunity. So even though maybe you've never gotten the flu before, or you didn't get that sick from the flu, or you felt like the flu vaccine didn't quote unquote work for you, the more people that have the flu vaccine, the more able we are to protect people, especially those who are elderly or kids at school who have a weakened immune system, or little babies. Really important for that. And then the other one is COVID, of course, and there's a new recommendation as of June to get a 2024-2025 COVID vaccine, but we don't have it yet.
Okay.
So probably in the fall, and what I'd say for that is just pay attention to your pediatrician's newsletters or their recommendations. For the flu, that vaccine, you usually want it to be given before Halloween.
Okay.
So, and again, your pediatrician's office is going to let you know, okay, now it's available, you can come get it. A lot of times we'll have Saturday or Sunday clinics where you can come do like a drive-through or just come really quickly into the office.
Those are super nice. So let's talk about when you get there to get the vaccine. If you have a kiddo who is afraid of needles, struggles with shots, what are some things we can do to set them up for success?
Yes. So first of all, I'm a pediatrician, but I'm also a parent, and I have a kid who is deathly afraid of needles. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, please don't spring vaccines on your kids.
Okay.
So it's the absolute worst to tell your child you're not getting any vaccines, and then to go to the office and say, oh, just kidding.
Gosh.
So if in doubt, just say, I'm not sure, or call ahead and ask if your child will be receiving vaccines. We're happy to tell you, so that way you can be prepared. Secondly, give your child as much control as possible over how they get the vaccine. So do they want to sit? Do they want to lie down? Do they want to sit on your lap? Do they want you to hold their hand? Give them those options ahead of time, and also coping strategies as much as possible ahead of time. So that might be that they have headphones on so they don't have to hear the ripping of the paper while they're getting it out. That might be that they have like a little eye mask on so that way they don't have to see it. There are also some really cool VR technologies that are coming out to make it so that it's more like a little fishy giving like a little bite, because it's really psychological. It's less about the actual pain.
Yeah,
and then also at a lot of the pediatrician offices, they'll have really things that can help to disperse that level of discomfort or make it so that it's less of a shock kind of to a kid's system. So things like a cold spray, or there's something called a buzzy bee that you can put on the arm, and it kind of creates a little buzz so it doesn't feel like there's just one little pinprick that they're feeling. So ask about those types of techniques, because pediatricians care about kids. We want it to be easier for them.
Do you find that it's more beneficial, I mean, as long as you can, to get the vaccines at your pediatrician versus just the pharmacy down the road? I've done both just kind of in a pinch, right? When we didn't have certain COVID or flu shots, I've taken the kids to the pharmacy, and they're not necessarily as used to dealing with kids all the time. So it might be a tougher experience.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm a little biased because, of course, as a pediatrician, I feel like we're so well equipped. And also, not just the pediatrician, but the staff at the pediatrician office. We know what kids like. We know how they operate. That said, for some specific kids, I actually have recommended that they go, when they're old enough, to places like the pharmacy, just so that way they're not as scared when they go to the pediatrician office for their well exams that they're always going to get a shot there if they have a really negative experience.
That's a great point.
I've done that with my own daughter even, just so that I know I can tell her, when you go to the pediatrician office today, I know there's not going to be anything. So listen to your own kid and kind of pay attention to their own needs when it comes to that. But yes, far and wide, pediatrician office is the way to go.
Okay, let's talk about if you do want to space out your kids' vaccines. How do you go about that conversation? What are some kind of goals to have in mind?
Yeah, so my goal is always that kids have to have the least amount of trauma or least amount of worry or anxiety around vaccines. So most pediatrician offices will, within the guidelines and the recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC, work with you to create a schedule that works for you. But that said, there are always trade-offs and benefits to spacing out the vaccines. That's even more times that you have to go in and have anxiety for your child. Even more times you have to go in when your child is in the middle of sick season and be exposed to other sick kids. So you just have to think about that. Again, what's going to be the best for your child and for you overall? And then also pay attention to your own anxiety. Is it because you get stressed out when your kid gets stressed out about vaccines? That's totally fair. That happens to me too. But if it's for that reason, not for your kid, maybe consider just putting them together.
Okay. Lots of stuff to think about. Hey, great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
The book again is Doing It All, and we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.